Hello everybody and welcome to yet another Beyond All Reason video. Today we have two legends in the 1v1 scene. We have Raghna and Teddy facing off each other on the map Silent Sea. Now this is another map we haven't seen before on the channel, and it'll be interesting to see what these players are going to do. If they're just going to stick with air, are they going to go naval, or are they going to go amphibious or hover? So as we zoom in here, we have Raghna on the south side as Cortex and has not decided to go any factory yet, and on the north we have Teddy as Armada, who is actually starting off with a bot lab. Now we are seeing some difference in start position here. As we zoom out, just give you a little brief show of the start positions. We can see that on the map there are several sections of clusters of 3 mexes. So if we use Raghna's side as an example, we have a cluster here, 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 and here. That's 4 on the middle island, and then in the bottom corner we see another mex group there as well. Now these mexes are 1.7 metal, so not a lot. But we also see Raghna also going for a bot start. A little bit later than Teddy, but not doing too bad. He is actually a little bit better at controlling his economy in this early stage. As the wind has died now, both players' wind that they built early on has completely gone. But Raghna does have more of a current stockpile of metal, so you could argue that he has done a better job at managing metal early on here. Now, I'll quickly say that the OS differences here are very small. Raghna with 54 and Teddy with 56. So you could argue that Raghna is the underdog in this game. However, I don't think any of these players are underdogs in any shape or form. Now, what can we expect from this level? Well, it's difficult to say. There are obviously some terrain issues here. As we can see on Raghna's side, we've got a little water channel here, which is probably transversable by bots. It is indeed. So we're not really going to have any issues there. But it does mean that you can block off your opponent's expansion with like a couple of boats or something in that channel. And that's going to mean you're not going to be able to get anything to it. Also, with all of these high elevations, you can see here from the radar that it can see pretty much everything except around here. But if you have a radar on this bottom side and on the other hill, you should have pretty good coverage throughout, and we'll be able to see anything coming towards you, which is going to be key here because naval flanks around the side can get to you your economy quite easy if you're not careful. Now, what we do see looking at this bottom side here, even though there is this channel that comes through, having building a naval factory on this bottom side here next to this triple mex, or you could even build it off of this higher ground here, potentially gives you a fairly decent defendable position, and it also means that you can get your units out pretty quickly if we are going to see navy. However, I could just see both players maybe going for maybe amphibious or maybe just predominantly air. I know both these players occasionally like to do a bit of cheese, so it wouldn't surprise me if we're going to see a little bit of that. So surprisingly, we are seeing some grunts coming out here from Raghna. Obviously, they can't cross water here, so interesting choice. Clearly, the plan here is just to defend against any hovers or anything that come across, just to protect those mexes. And he's got a bunch actually going out here as well to that little island. Meanwhile, Teddy is doing something similar. He's got some ticks out, and he's also got some pawns there to defend a bit of the expansion as well until those engineers get there. We are seeing Teddy doing something different here by walking to the back mechs in the water. We look at his path here. We can see he is going to walk up to that hill in the corner and build a bunch of energy in the back corner away from everything. Now, neither player here is obviously making any aggressive moves. It's a bit difficult on this map. We are seeing the first potential aggressive move coming out here from Raghna, as we see Raghna reclaiming the bot lab, actually using the res bot there as well to make it go a little bit quicker, and getting an air factory up. However, we can see that Teddy has already guessed that this was coming and has built one anti-aircraft bot. Now, that's not, you know, the be-all and end-all. It isn't going to save the world here, but it is going to do a fairly decent job, and he does already have air defense. Now, one thing that can kind of maybe indicate that your opponent is going air is, well, Cortex Air, especially for Tier 1, is very highly regarded because of the shurikens. So, if your opponent is Cortex, there's a high probability that they maybe plan on building air, especially on this sort of a map. So, by Teddy investing into those air defenses already, pretty much a good call there. And about to get the third bomber up and running with some scouts being built behind. Now, obviously, every single piece of expansion here has air defense already. We are seeing a hovercraft factory being built by Teddy. So we are 6.5 minutes in, and we are about to see the first piece of combat as the bombers from Raghna fly towards Teddy's base. And that scout gets instantly shot down. And as we look at the player through from Raghna here, he has no idea what stage. He's just going to bomb that wind. He sees the hovercraft factory. Probably going to just try and maybe get these bombers out. Do that bomb run on that wind there and then get out. Other bomber does die, and he's going to pull back that last bomber. Oh no, he's not. He's going for expansion. Okay. Now, what is he going to do to counter the hovercrafts? Well, at the moment, nothing. We do have an air transport on a patrol route, just going back and forwards as you do. He's signed his factory to do that. Yes. Keep that stuff kind of out of the way. Bomber getting a good bit of damage on. Not going to kill the engineer at this rate. But the engineer is also not focusing it down. But that air defense bot we spoke about earlier comes in. Manages to stop the bomber getting... Oh, the bomber suicided into the mechs. And took it out with his final blow. The hero bomber. Right, and we see Raghna deciding to go naval. He's going forward naval as well by building it in the front. He's obviously going to be able to get units out a lot quicker, and will be in the action quicker. However, it does make it really exposed. And as we see now, here come the hovers. Raghna is going straight into assault frigates, maybe expecting some form of submarines coming in. Also can be used to just, cause general mayhem and deal with underwater mechs as a raid. And here come the hovers. He does have a lot of grunts here that should do a fairly decent job at dealing with the hovers. Also on top of that, he does have a few shurikens out. But it is going to get a little bit of raid damage, as we see in this corner here. Nowhere near as much damage as Raghna did to Teddy, but it is a start. And we do see the factory take a little bit of damage here, but I mean, it's not going to be doing anything, really. And you could argue that Raghna has supremacy right now. And I messed up actually when I said that this unit can target naval. It cannot. It's the other one that can target naval, which is underwater, which is the oppressor, the one with the little torpedo icon underneath it. And here we see him using this little path that we spoke of earlier on to get around the back. There's a lot of wind here that's just on the edge, which can be targeted by these destroyers, assault frigates, sorry. And so it'll be interesting to see if he's going to try and go for that. The naval factory is going up for Teddy. Yep, he does manage to get a decent chunk of damage done on these wind farms. And there goes an engineer as well. Coastal defenses are going up in lieu of the factory instead, but Teddy is getting ready, pretty ready, prepared for this. He's reclaiming this hovercraft lab to try and get the metal for the naval factory. And the missile range on these missile corvettes is actually pretty good. I'm surprised. I mean, saying that though, they're not really done much now that they've moved there. And we are seeing a force coming in from Raghna. Interestingly enough, reclaimed the naval factory and is going for an amphibious lab instead underwater. Can Raghna see that? No, he cannot. Interesting. Sorry, I meant can Teddy see that? Subs come out from Teddy, shutting down this force of Raghna's. Now, the issue is here is that these units have got a lot of metal in them. That's 250 metal just in that one wreck. And he cannot take out the factory. And because he has no torpedo units in this force, he is going to have to fall back. And those subs won't catch up, so he will get that out. But so far here, Raghna in a stronger position. A bit of a difficult spot now, though, because he's having to move all of his grunts, to deal with these crocodiles. And the crocodiles are quite tanky, being that they are a hover tank. As long as he can get some flanking damage on the go, he should be fine. Unfortunately, the shurikens get killed before they are able to actually turn up, and surprisingly, Raghna makes a mistake and lets that hover tank in a little while longer, managing to get a single windmill. So, and they drop 100 and something metal as well. So, I mean, that's fairly even trade right now. What we are seeing that is a difference here is Teddy has these underwater mexes and the corner mechs here, and Raghna does not. And we are seeing a difference in economy here. Teddy with 57, clearly reclaiming right now, and Raghna with 30. I believe it was a little less than that. No, poison arrow coming out. A very heavy tank. Don't know if Teddy's going to have anything to deal with that, but this is definitely going to get mopped up pretty quick here. Yeah, and that's some of that mechs that we were just talking about. Teddy had the advantage of, now going up in smoke. We do still see Raghna on the losing side when it comes to economy so far, though. He has not expanded off of his original island. Has also switched back to a naval factory, getting some more torpedo submarines out, as opposed to, you know, non-torpedo submarines. Surprisingly, only building this one poison arrow, and then deciding to reclaim the factory and change his mind. Now, interestingly enough, Teddy has nothing to stop this right now. He has actually transitioned to Tech 2 bots. So he is starting to get something to deal with this. Now, Tech 2 in 13 minutes. And when you're not really building much like you are on this map, that's probably relatively doable. He's trying not to lose. He does lose the alligator, leaving just the poison arrow left. Trying to get some scouting overhead with the scout plane. Poison arrow does have quite a long reload time, so Teddy was trying to just harass it with ticks there. But now on the opposite side, Teddy does not have vision. Trying to use the ticks to provide some vision for the hounds. Teddy cannot push in to that poison arrow. Poison arrow forcing Teddy to come close. There is a frigate there as well that's going to do a bit more damage, but I feel like Teddy has a bit of an advantage here. Those platypuses, great play there. Make short work of the boat that was in the water there, and this submarine. Oh no, more oppressors coming in. And that poison arrow will die pretty quickly here. Did a good job, and we see Raghna here going for the Control D, and does manage it barely. Does not manage it on the presser though. Raghna in a stronger position so far. Hasn't really lost much of his eco at all. Teddy's been on the back foot for quite a while. However, Raghna still on Tech 1. Teddy in Tech 2. Started to build that Tech 2 economy up and going. These platypuses are actually surprisingly good. Even though they're supposed to be, you know, just general kind of purpose units with a bit of anti-air on, I believe. But they are Tech 2, and I don't know how well the grunts are going to deal with them. He's grouped the grunts up, and here they go. Grunts are doing a pretty good job at it. But that has severely diminished the grunt forces that Raghna had keeping hold of his island. And he may need to invest in some additional defensive units here. And we do actually see him going for a bot lab. Now it is interesting to see here, we're seeing both players still stick with Tech 2 factories of the bot variety. And I believe Raghna is probably going to go ducks here. But no actual like long-term use of hovercrafts, or we saw that one amphibious attack, which, you know, did pretty well. So the fact that he didn't continue that push with something else is a bit surprising. Raghna yet again reclaiming the naval factory. He has a bunch of submarines just kind of surrounding Teddy's base here. So Teddy is now forced into something that floats rather than goes on the water, well, hovers, if in effect. I don't think these can be targeted by torpedoes. We'll find out. Not, I don't think the torpedoes will even hit them if they do. So, and right now, oh, actually, as we zoom in here, we are seeing the start of some Tech 2 defenses, and often see those getting built in a 1v1. And let's just zoom out, and the map is pretty stale right now. Raghna still not taking control of this bottom right corner. And something self-destructed there. I may have missed that. Quickly checking the stats here. So, we have metal produced. Teddy is a long way ahead with 33 metal produced, whereas Raghna only has 26. That is a substantial difference in metal production. Energy production, we see that Teddy is 200k, well, 100-ish k ahead. But both players have accessed quite a substantial amount, so not too big a deal. And other than that, we see Teddy losing the most units, receiving the most, actually not receiving the most damage, actually dealing the most damage, which is surprising. Raghna now on the bit of a defensive, as he's lost most of his defensive units, and with the units here coming around the back, about to get a good amount of economy damage to Raghna. At the same time, we are seeing him try and take out that Tech 2 defense, which he does manage to do. But more economy damage on Raghna here is going to put him even further behind when it comes to a metal deficit. Trying desperately to use his commander here to stop this economy damage. And the D-gun does go off. And that will secure that. Fiend's being built here as a method of defense as well. And that attacking force is mopped up pretty quickly. And back we go. We see Raghna in a pretty strong position with this oppressor here. He knows it's just manually firing, I think, on the metal points. Can't see what's going on here. No. But Oh, nice little attack on a res sub there as well. Just completely stopping any expansion to those mexes. Sniper bots coming out. That will definitely deal with those boats on his coast. There's not much Teddy can do about that. Which will give Teddy's coast back to him. Teddy has been on a pretty defensive game all game. With constant attacks coming to from Raghna. We are actually seeing some tumbleweeds coming out. Very, very rarely see those. So that's nice to see. Bit of unit diversity for a change. And here we see platypuses being sent back to Teddy. And they will probably die very quickly. One is actually almost dead. Yeah. Yeah. 2-for-1 trade there. Not worth it. Probably just seeing what's up on that hill. And yeah, so Teddy's economy going pretty well. About to start his first fusion. Still just building any amphibious units he can. He is somewhat limited here. Platypuses and the tumbleweeds. He's planning to, looks like he's planning to go back into naval. Whereas on the other side here, we see Raghna about to do the same. Started his first fusion. When it comes to factories, though, he actually has 0 factories at the moment. The units he has is all that he has left. He's actually built a substantial amount of mines. The one submarine he has doing a relatively good job at just causing them some problems. And actually managing to take out a couple of mines, but it's going to be difficult to hit the rolling bomb. And the bomb actually does take out the submarine. Interesting idea to use the tumbleweeds and micro them to take out the submarines. A pretty interesting idea. And apologies that this game is mostly zoomed out here, but with no actual front line or much going on, it's a bit difficult to focus on any one thing. These platypuses will die pretty quickly with the quantity of LLTs that are up here. Will they manage to get that energy converters beforehand? No. Oh, looks like there was a brief pause there, which obviously is watching the replay we skip over. And one submarine around the back from Teddy does manage to clear out some of the expansion mexes that Raghna had. Raghna still not taking that bottom corner mex. He did have an air transport at some point. I don't know where that went, but he's never actually used it. We see a large amount of twitchers here being used to assist the Tech 2 engineer that was built and getting that Tech 2 economy up and running as quick as possible. Air being used again here. Pumping out a substantial amount of bombers here, which may actually work considering there was not really an improvement on the air defense, which Teddy has just noticed actually and is rushing to get some more up. Surprising how he knows exactly what Raghna must be doing, considering he doesn't have vision on the bombers, and yet you can see him already queuing up here. See, a bunch of additional basic air defenses. It just shows to you what, you know, the same mines that these two players have. Where is this torpedo shooting? Oh, was that one up there? Yeah, that died very quickly. So, Raghna knows more boats on the way. But the bombing run is already heading its way here. And if Raghna can get the fusion, that's a lot of damage going to be coming out. Does he see it? Fighters are going over. He's already positioned some of the bombs. He hasn't seen the fusion yet. And he is not going to be able to focus it down. He does now select all of his bombers, focus in the fusion. Fusion is taking a bit of damage, but it's not enough. Down to 63% health. Not enough damage there done by that bombing run. And are we seeing a transition away? No, we are not. Raghna is queuing up a chunk of shurikens here, but other than that, he doesn't actually have any units, really. Urgent rush to build a naval factory here, but Raghna's position that was kind of in the lead, I would argue, is now looking a bit risky. Raghna desperately trying to rush out some units, but he's not going to have anywhere near enough boats here to hold the water. There is... I don't know what he's going to do. This sniper bot is going to do a pretty good job at holding the line here. Raghna desperately trying to put as much build power on this factory as he can. Knows that his comm is in danger if he stays there. He is producing them at a significant rate. You see about 15 seconds? Yeah, 15 seconds for a single boat. They do have a substantial amount of health. We're going to do a fairly decent job at keeping them at bay. There is a Twitcher there to repair. We are seeing here a Tech 2 naval factory from Teddy. Do believe the initiative has now switched to Teddy rather than Raghna. We also did see an anti-nuke unit built there by Teddy. Raghna is yet to have an anti-nuke. Economy check quickly. We see Teddy with 93, Raghna with 102. Raghna with a partial lead when it comes to economy. Not really much. Still technically behind though in total metal produced. And the Fiends here are the only hope for survival against this mass swarm of platypuses that are coming in. Although they're going to this corner, as we can see here, so that's not an issue. Raghna now deciding to go on the attack with his units. Now, the destroyers are obviously not as good as assault frigates when it comes to standard ship v ship combat. The destroyers made more for taking out submarines with a little bit of ground damage on top of that. Raghna also did see that Voyager there. So he does know that Teddy has Tech 2 Navy. And with that push, Raghna able to clear the waters around his base a little bit, giving him a bit of breathing room. And because of that, we see now the transition to Tech 2 Navy. Will we see Tech 3 this game? Who knows? And there we see the air defense. See from these platypuses, the shurikens completely useless. This unit's going to try and sneak round the mine, though. Oh, yes. Great mines. Will we see a counter Juno to deal with that? Who knows? But in terms of the defenses that Teddy has right now, we've got pit bulls, we have sniper bots sat on the ridge lines, we have paladins, cruisers coming out from Teddy, and the start of some hovercrafts as well. We have an anti-nuke ready to go and plenty of air defense to boot. We are seeing Teddy here actually starting to build up some of his own air, getting some scouts out. We also see a Juno being built here to deal with that minefields. That is literally what's keeping Raghna alive at the moment. So we do need to see a bit of a change in place. And we do see here Raghna going for a battleship instead of the cruisers. Interesting idea. And unfortunately that battleship has now been spotted. The battleship has a substantial attack range and will be able to hit deep inland as long as it has something to provide vision for it. And the Arrow Storm anti-airs. Going to provide any sort of air defense they need. The flak on those is pretty phenomenal. And are we about to see the battleship's cannons roar? This is a difficult spot here for Raghna. He is putting himself in position of all the land units, which at this point are actually all amphibious, so not really that big of a deal, but a cruiser does go down. Teddy accidentally continues chase, losing 2 cruisers. Potentially going to lose a 3rd. I think that one might get away. And Teddy having to fall back. He does lose the 3rd. Now that's a lot of metal. 600 metal on the field there. And this position gives Raghna a huge amount of room to just fire on the economy of Teddy. And if he can get this battleship round the back, there will be nothing that Teddy can do to stop his entire economy going up in smoke. But I don't think he has the units to deal with this, and a battleship is not going to turn around in time. Raghna potentially not having enough units for this push here. As he sees his units starting to go up in smoke, he is trying to save the battleship. A 2nd battleship actually was already built. But this battleship does go up in smoke. Now, talking about a lot of metal. 2,000 metal there. And at the same time, Teddy has his own one. And that is all of Raghna's navy up in smoke. Platypus is just absolutely destroying that battleship. Teddy is now in a pretty strong position here. So much economy is in this area around his base. 6.6 metal just on the little side bit here, and just behind his base we see another 6k metal. That's a lot of metal, and there is no way Raghna is going to be able to contest that. It's just reinforcing the fact that Raghna is going to be even more behind. Well, what is his plan now? Producing more and more battleships, it seems. That is literally the only thing he's building. Battleships. And I don't know if they're really working against these hovercrafts very well. But what's a man to do? We'll just get swarmed by platypuses again. And here comes a Juno. Actually does take out the naval mines. Another Juno over here. The 2 battleships. Don't think that's enough damage. He will probably kill Teddy's one. Well, definitely kill Teddy's one there, yeah. But all it takes is these forces to come in and swarm those battleships. And Teddy will lose. Well, Teddy will actually kill them pretty easily. We do see this Pathfinder here trying to get some of that reclaim. Surprised that we don't see just like just a tier 2 construction sub. They are a lot more expensive, obviously. That's why we see the naval engineer out instead. And yeah, Raghna in a very difficult spot here. This sub that got to the top is yeah, not really gonna accomplish much. 4 battleships, about to be 5 battleships now out from Raghna. His hope of just providing complete overwhelming firepower. It kind of wouldn't surprise me if we end up seeing a Black Hydra. Thing is though, 1 Black Hydra, well, 1 normal battleship, 3.4k metal. Black Hydra, 18,000. I mean, technically with a reclaim of both those reclaim fields, Teddy could afford one pretty easily. It's the build time though that he would struggle on. He needs that build time, and surprisingly Raghna doing a good job at getting some of this reclaim. And we see Tech 2 Air coming out from Teddy shortly. Atomic bombers, maybe? EMP bombers, maybe? Or are we more likely just going to see like torpedo bombers to deal with all of these battleships? Now, the heavy lasers on these battleships doing a pretty good job actually at dealing with these hovers. We see pings. Flax, yep. They're planning on just suiciding into a Ragna's comm, trying to get a early comm death here. I say early, we're 34 minutes in here. Raghna in again a good spot here, managing to get some damage onto Teddy's base yet again. Pulsar being built here, which will provide a pretty decent defense. However, if he can get this missile unit here, I believe that would still have the range to hit the Pulsar without being hit back. He doesn't know it's there yet though, which he will do when that missile ship goes up in smoke very quickly. Unfortunately, not the best place to build that Pulsar. If it was built up here, he wouldn't be able to hide behind that. 2 battleships. Not going to do much really to hold off this massive naval force on the north if it continues to push round. But 4 battleships in the middle is a lot to contend with. And has Raghna seen that yet? He hasn't. EMP bomber out. And the Pulsar is about to go up. He does now see it. And the EMP's doing a great job, but there are fighters out, and unfortunately the Pulsar goes up before it's able to do any damage. This does mean Raghna is aware Tech 2 Air is out and about, and he needs to prepare. And we can see he is just churning out fighters and 1 scout. Teddy trying to do something here against the swarm of battleships. Trying to push in with the cruisers, not enough to do anything. How the tables have turned. We did see Raghna winning the beginning, then it turned quite heavily in Teddy's favor as he was able to defend quite well. And now, unfortunately, Teddy on the defensive yet again. The sheer quantity of firepower coming out from these battleships, making it very difficult for Teddy to do much. There goes the Tech 2 Air. And with that, Teddy still hasn't lost the majority of his economy, but he is definitely on the losing side right now. Some big play needs to be made from Teddy in order to turn this around. We are seeing 9 battleships. Make that 10 battleships now from Raghna. And it does show that just massing battleships is a very valid strategy. I mean, his opponent is building no submarines, and so there is no need for him to build cruisers. He has no need for torpedoes, because there are no units that require it. So maybe if Teddy mixed in some, it would force him to go more than just battleships. But then he is also limiting his pathing then, and submarines aren't really going to do a lot versus battleships. It'll take a long time for them to kill it. Teddy not happy with the armed battleship here. These 4 Cortex battleships. It's like a massive amount of firepower. And there we go. Teddy calling a GG. Great game we see here. Don't normally see such a heavy ecoed game and a bit of back and forth, and ending up with this massive naval battleship force of Raghna. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.